Thanks for watching Inside Automotive with Jim Fitzpatrick.
Hey everyone, Jim Fitzpatrick. Welcome into another edition of Inside Automotive right here at the CBT Automotive Network. Eland Solutions just released a new finance report published right here on CBT News, uncovering a $4.7 billion, that's right, billion-dollar opportunity for auto dealers if mismatched payment quotes are solved. So joining us now with more on this is Pete MacInnis. You know him. You've seen him here before on CBT News. He's the CEO of Eland Solutions. So Pete, thank you so much for joining us on the show. Boy, I know we've got some dealers' attention right now when you mentioned $4.7 billion opportunity. There's not a dealer out there that is interested in getting some of those dollars, right?
Yes, sir. So thanks very much for having me on the show again, Jim.
Sure. So talk to us, give us a little bit of the background of the report.
Yeah, so we started out, what we did is we looked at application data. We looked at thousands of credit application submissions from dealers to over 100 different lenders. And then we looked at those same loan decision responses that came back from those. And a couple of the statistics that we found was that 60% of the credit applications plus were not approved. I think the number was only 32% were approved on that deal. And then we also drilled in a little bit and says, okay, of looking at these approvals, what percentage of all applications were actually approved as is? You guys did conduct a dealer survey. Obviously, we just talked about that to find out if the finance study data matches the auto dealer's experience and what the impact is to sales and front end and back end gross profit. As we know, that's going to have some sort of an impact, and also the F&I presentation. Share with us some of the findings from the finance survey. Yeah, Jim, and again, to your point, what you just said is very important to us, saying we were looking at this data. It was sample data, but we were thinking, okay, it's not all dealers, all lenders, every application in the industry. It was a segment. It was a small sample. So we wanted to see, is that sample data match up with dealer sentiment? Because it's very important that that we're in alignment with the dealers. We don't want to put out data and the dealers are saying, no, this is crazy. This doesn't make sense. Yeah, sure. And we didn't want it to be challenged. So we wanted to see if we could get aligned. So followed up with the dealer survey. So some of those initial responses were like, as I mentioned, when we said that less than 60% of the applications were not approved. So we asked the dealers the questions, and 82% of the dealers agreed that less than 40% of the credit applications submitted to their auto lenders received a credit approval decisions. And 83% agreed that the lender finance approval decision monthly payments for new vehicles was on average $32 a month higher than the initial offer to the customer. Wow. So, in the finance data, we did that analysis and we said, all right, what's the difference in these approval payment terms that are different? And we came up with that number of $32 on average of the thousands of applications, and then the subset of 1.6 for approval. So it was $32 average on higher. So we said, hey, dealer, does this match your experience? 83% said yes. And 88% said that on average, it was $36 per month higher than that initial quote to customers for used vehicles. So the dealer audience overwhelmingly was agreeing with the finance data. And one last starting point on that was 95% of the dealers said that those vehicle deals had to be reworked because of initial quote to lender mismatches between initial quote, lender decision, et cetera. Wow. So of that segment of those 95, 2 in 5 of the dealers said that 30% or more of the new vehicle sales had to be reworked because of that problem. Did the dealer survey reveal financial impact to the dealer's front end gross profit? Absolutely, yes. 87% of the dealer respondents say that the front end gross profit is reduced, like for used vehicles, when that approval decision was on average $36 higher than the initial quote. Wow. 56% of those dealers said it was over $300 or more that they had to adjust that front end gross profit to solve that issue.
Wow.
And half of the dealers said that initial quote to lender friction, it reduces front end gross profit on those deals somewhere between 11 and 20% on average.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow.
And last stat on that question was 93% of the dealers said that yes, they did lose sales. So we using like a 5% lost sales ratio based on some of the answers. We took that number times the average front end gross profit per vehicle on average for a dealer.
Yeah.
And so we multiplied that and estimated that out to be just on the front end, probably about $237,000 lost opportunity per dealer per year in trying to resolve those discrepancies between initial quote and lender final payment terms.
So now that's the front end. Now let's talk about the back end and the impact that it has in back end gross profit.
So yes, the answer was yes. 40% of the dealers said revolving the payment term discrepancies adds 31 to 45 minutes or more to the sales and finance process. Mm-hmm. And 78% estimated that the finance penetration could increase by 11% or more if that initial payment quote matched lender decisions before they got to the F&I office.
Right. Yeah, because they're also, once they get that information, now they're online. What it could be, they're sitting in your showroom, and this is online, and they're checking with their credit unions, they're checking with their banks to see what the rates are, to see what the, pulling up the payment calculators and such. So that opens a whole new door now if you're going to be quoting payments that are not in alignment with that first number, right?
Correct, absolutely. Yeah. So when you look at that finance penetration, where they can pick it up, 11% or more, we took that we used a 15% number and to increase finance penetration. And then you took that times the average gross back end profit per dealer on a deal. That turns into another $278,000 in lost opportunity per dealer, just trying to resolve that type of that problem.
Sure. So let's talk about that issue. What's causing the disconnect between the initial payment from quotes and the lender loan decisions?
Yeah, so Jim, we look at this. It's happening in store as well, but let's focus on the digital retailing credit model pricing. The things that's on the dealer's website, the digital retailing, everything remotely.
Sure.
They're almost all of them are using these payment term estimators, calculators, to quote a payment, and they're relying on a single attribute, such as a credit score tier. And then based upon that tier, they assign an interest rate to that and then calculates the payment on it. And so today, almost all are using that, but yet those are such outdated tools using that single attribute to quote customers' payments. So they're doing that, and that's not even how things are done today. And what's even more interesting about that, most of those tools don't even have access to the customer's credit reports. So they're quoting something off of a credit score tier when they don't even know what it really is.
Right.
And so it's setting up friction right up front.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And so that's kind of the origins of the problem, why we're having such a big gap between, what the expectations are. And so what happened is, and we asked the dealers, I said, they said that 87% of their lenders are stopped providing lender rate sheet bulletins, and 54% of them said that over 50% of their lenders have discontinued that practice. So think about it. You got a digital rate sheet that everybody knows historically, that's what we go off. Or what's your credit score? What's your tier? And we're going to price you at that. Lenders are abandoning that, and dealers are acknowledging that they're no longer doing it in a small subset, but that you still have digital retailing going there and quoting these things where the lender's saying, we don't do that anymore.
Right.
And so what's happened is the lenders have moved away from that credit score tier buckets, and moved to this dynamic lender pricing model. And what it is it's much more than a credit score. It's AI models. They use so many more attributes, and it's all different by lender. And so, for example, instead of just setting up a credit score tier, they might use credit history, number of trade lines on the bureau, the high credit, revolving availability. Do they have a previous auto loan? What's their minimum income, debt to income ratios, payment to income ratios, loan to values, residence, employment history, front end, back end, advance, new, used, certified, loan terms, mileage, existing customers, and who knows how many different attributes they may consider in their proprietary loan decision engine, right? So they're using all of that, which is completely absent from the dealer customer negotiation process, whether it's online or in store. It's just gone. And so when you think about the advancement that lenders have made in the technology, it's really good for them, and they're going to have a better performing portfolio, but it is not part of the dealer customer experience at the front of the sales process. And that's where there's a big problem is at today.
Yeah, for sure. This problem, has got to be costing the average dealer at least $500,000 in lost opportunity, for sure. So, folks, you can see that full report right here at cbtnews.com. We'll have a link right below the video that you're watching right now to check that out, which I highly encourage that you do. Elend Solutions fintech platform is launching DealMaker. That solves the debacle documented in this finance report. So, Pete, we want to bring you back to talk about that, because I know that at the end of the day here, you've come up with a solution at Elend Solutions to address all of this, right? And it's 2025. I mean, why are dealers still having to deal with this issue, right? It's crazy.
Yeah, it's something that I think a lot of people, companies are working on to help solve this. This isn't unique to us. Everybody knows this is an issue. Everybody's working on it, or a segment or a piece of it, or a component on it. And we've been very fortunate because we've been doing this a long time. We've connected a lot of the dots in the whole workflow and the process, from shopping to buying, from lead gen to deal gen, from finance tools and desking tools to, all the app processing. So we've tied it all together, and we really look forward to showcasing that with you on CBT News real soon. Thanks, Jim.
Yeah, we're excited to have you on to talk about this, because I think maybe DealMaker is exactly what the industry needs. I mean, the timing is right. The auto dealers don't want to give up any gross profit, and especially in this area where, if you've come up with a solution, it seems like a no-brainer. This is something that every dealer needs to take a look at, because sometimes I think that business goes on and dealers run their lives, they run their businesses, and they don't realize that in instances like this, where the payments aren't matching up and you're getting customers it also affects your CSI, by the way, at the dealership, because you're not living up to what the customer's expectations are. It doesn't seem transparent, although every dealership out there wants to be more transparent with their customers and deliver a better product and deliver that product on the payments that they say they're going to do. So, we're anxious to hear all about DealMaker from Elend Solutions, and we'll schedule that next show just as soon as we can. But Pete MacInnis, CEO of Elend Solutions, thanks so much for spending some time with us here today to review the survey. And again, folks, I highly encourage you to click the link below to get your copy of it and to check out these numbers, because they're astonishing. So, Pete, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks for watching Inside Automotive with Jim Fitzpatrick.